What is going on, everyone? Today is April 25th, 2024. You are tuned into the Invest in Hockey podcast. My name's Anthony Santini, joined here with,
Eric Wilson.
and Eric is a little bit delayed today. I have no idea why, but we are nonetheless ready to go. And we've been a little bit delayed with this podcast. Obviously, last week, Eric, we missed an episode, which we've never done before, and we had to make up for it on the weekend a little bit weirder watching the Masters, watching hockey, getting ready for moving out, which has been really tough. And, the transition coming back home and pretty much waiting for us this weekend's the Sports Card Expo and the NHL playoffs. So it's been a lot of fun to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I wrote down the hike back home to watch playoff hockey. It's felt like a trek. It's felt like a hike to move out. I mean, everyone knows that feeling pretty much where you got to change your house or your environment and kind of turn things around. But we've done it and we're back for episode 24. We're almost at number 25 there. So I think we're ready to roll and talk, our first real playoff episode since the playoffs have started. So I mean, there's so many good matchups to start with, but I think we kind of have to start with this Leafs Boston matchup that happened last night, and I'd love you to start with that.
Oh, seriously. I mean, I was only able to watch the first half of the Leafs game because I had to go, like we mentioned, move out. But still, dude, like it was such a good game. Playoff hockey is so different from, regular season. And we've had that conversation so many times, but you don't really understand it until you watch a Leafs Bruins series and, the heart that both teams have. And it just seems that, the Leafs are in this series. And as Bruins fans, we want to, not see that. I mean, me personally, I want to see Matthews play well. I always say that. But the Bruins take game three. They're headed back to Toronto again. And the Leafs are looking to split games at home, which they were able to do at TD Garden, something that had to get done, I think, for Leafs fans to see a win against the Boston Bruins. To me, I don't know if this is the same Bruins team as we've seen in a couple years. Obviously, not as offensively talented, but still the grit, the desire, and the sheer, do we want to say, want to win the Stanley Cup has made them one of the best teams in the league for the past 2 years. So although they're not flashy, we've seen a couple, changes with their power play. Obviously, Marchand and Pastrnak being split on the power play, splitting goalie starts with Allmark and Swayman, almost a little bit unorthodox compared to what the Leafs do, where, they have their big boys going all the time. It looks like they're just going to ride Samsonov through this playoff series. So for me, two opposite teams, but two great teams at that.
Yeah, it's I've heard a lot of people say how, the series is great and all, but neither of these teams is going to go on to win the cup and blah blah blah. And I don't really like to hear that because like we've said before, any of the 16 teams that enter the playoffs can win the Stanley Cup. It's cliche to say, but it's as simple as that. If you get out of the first round, there's 8 teams to go, and I think that's kind of the big decision is we're going to see a lot of good teams knocked out. But yeah, like you said, it was a split 1-1. That seems like it's always the deal when the Bruins play the Leafs, and we always usually see it go to 7 games, right, Sanson? I think like if it doesn't go 1-1, then it's just a big dip of confidence from the team that's down 2-0, right?
No, for real. I mean, they take home ice advantage, head back to Scotiabank Arena, and obviously lose that game last night. It was the difference, and what could be the difference maker in this series as a result. You felt a little bit confident if you're a Leafs fan because you're heading back to Scotiabank Arena. You split games at TD Garden, one of the hardest arenas to grab a win, especially in the playoffs against the Bruins. So the Leafs fans are feeling really good. It almost, I don't know what you thought, Eric, but just being online watching the game one result versus the game two result, it seemed like all the Leafs fans thought they already won the series. Like it's crazy how the media can, skew angles and all that jazz.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
for example, to put in perspective, Leafs lose game one. All the fans are freaking out. Online, they're freaking out. Sportscasters, journalists, everyone's freaking out. What's got to change? Marner's not playing well. Then they pick up game two, and it's like they already won the cup. It's like they're already looking at round two. Who are we going to play, Florida or Tampa Bay? So for me, that's something that as a Bruins fan, I'm happy to look at and be like, okay, we grabbed the game on the road. It's exactly what we needed to do. Grabbed home ice advantage again. And although Allmark didn't play well, losing that game in Toronto, or losing that game against Toronto in game two. Swayman looked good in game three, and I think he's going to grab the net again in game four.
Yeah, I can sort of agree with you, but I will say Allmark did look good. He played well, and he wasn't the reason they lost game two. It was just the way it goes, right? Like same with Sammy. It's not like he's lost the Leafs the two games, but of course he hasn't been like the game saver slash he hasn't won them the game. And I think it's really tough with goaltending because we talk about how it's the toughest position in hockey and how, yeah, you see guys, not show up one game and then you see the fan base like you were talking about just take a turn. So I think for me the most important thing I'm doing is I'm kind of I'm staying quiet. I'm staying off the social media a bit. I'll tweet something out about a different series or whatever, but I'm kind of avoiding the trash talk side of things, right?
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
So I think that kind of wraps up what I wanted to say about game five. But I did have one, sorry, not game five, game three there. I did have one thing to say about the highlights I watched. I mean, I did not get a chance to actually watch the game, but when Brad Marchand scored the goal to make it 3-2 Boston, which was the eventual game winner, I was absolutely disgusted with the effort from Austin Matthews in uh in that defensive zone there. And I think that a play like that was literally the difference maker. And it could turn out to be a big factor in the series, but it was poor. It was very poor. And to see a guy like Danton Heinen just want it more is great to see as a Bruins fan. But I was appalled by it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on it.
I mean, I wasn't able to catch that, so obviously you had a better look at it than me. I, I mean, I just think that I don't know if those are the players you want out in those situations, right? Like, wouldn't you want to put out a player maybe like a Camp or a Reeves in that situation? I mean, I don't know. That conversation is up to debate, but like, I just don't think that the first thing that is on Matthews' mind in a situation like that is to play stellar defense, and really dive for pucks, get it. And that's not to downplay how well he has played so far in this series, but I just don't think those are the matchups that you're looking for in a situation like that. I mean, like, what do you think?
It's so weird because the question is like, who do you play Austin Matthews against for him to excel and for him to produce every single game? Because he needs to produce every single game with the expectations that he has and with what we've seen out of him. And if he does not produce one game, it's truly a disappointment. It's the expectations need to be high, just same way that they do with Connor McDavid, where you need to produce every game, and if you don't, you're gonna lose the game. And that's exactly what happened, right? Not to point names, it happens with Mitch Marner, it happens with a guy like McKinnon, who we see shows up every night, and we see that they are in that series. But to stick with that Bruins League series, I'm appalled that these matchups are the way that they are. And again, we're seeing the pure desire from whether it's a winger like Heinen or a center like Coyle. We're seeing the want, and to see a guy not take one stride after crossing the center ice line is disgusting. I really want you to watch that play, and I hope our viewers can kind of see it on the screen here because I will throw up a little image there to put it into perspective. But it was something you don't want to
Oh,
see.
there you
If
go.
I was a Leafs fan, I'd probably be a little more mad, but I'm not. So I'm glad I can kind of keep my cool today.
Hey, I don't know. I mean, you seem pretty angry about it. Maybe you are a closet
Well,
Leafs
I'm
fan.
hey, I'm passionate about it. That's just the Invested in Hockey podcast for you, right, Says?
Oh, all right. I want to hear that. I want to hear that.
Good.
No, I mean, either way, we'll stew away a little bit from this series because there's so much to talk about, and we've been talking about it so much. One thing I did want to touch up on quickly is that talk about Marner because again, he's just not showing up in the playoffs. And I don't want to say that he's not going to be able to, turn his game around quickly because once you're a hero, you could easily become a zero. And the opposite way, if you're playing like a zero, you could easily become a hero. We've seen it so many times in the playoffs, but it just seems like Marner struggles in the playoffs and then he comes back and I don't want to say complains, but it's almost like he wasn't expecting the backlash. Like if you're going to be a top player in one of the biggest markets in all of the NHL, you almost need to, accept it, embrace it. Like you are going to be judged as one of these top players, just like you mentioned with Connor McDavid. You need to show up every night.
Yeah, and to build off your point there, we hear a lot of critique in hockey when players don't score goals. We saw it in the regular season when people wanted to discredit McDavid for only having 29 goals at one point, right? And I think that That
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of relates a little to Marner. I actually saw I was on TikTok last night, joined a stream there from a Leafs fan, and a lot of them have the scoreboards
Oh,
kind of in the back of their TikToks when they're streaming the game kind of. So I kind of just had it on our Invest in Hockey kind of for you page, and I joined up and just for a minute, and I heard that in the last 45 Leaf playoff games, Morgan Riley has 10 goals and Mitch Marner has 9. And
wow. I mean, did they give that goal to Riley yesterday, or was that given to Bertuzzi?
I think it went to Riley.
I need to double check because I was listening from the radio. Actually, I mean, we could keep talking about the Leafs Bruins. I want to talk about too about the Leafs radio announcer. Just remind me about that.
Yeah,
But
hey, go
no,
ahead. Yeah.
I mean, Marner's never been known for a guy that scores goals, right? So for me, a stat like that isn't like super surprising. Now, if you were to say that for Austin Matthews, then I'd say, okay, that's where a conversation could be brought up. However, you know, I think Marner got an apple on the one goal last night. I don't remember exactly which one it was. So nice for him to pick up a point there, I believe, right?
Yeah, first
Can
it was
we
their
just
first
confirm
goal.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, Marner does need to heat up, and I don't like it's playoff time, man. There's no time to complain. There's no time to blame it on the media per se, and you kind of just gotta strap up, be ready to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you feel about your bracket, but I think that overall things are shaping up pretty well where we might see one sweep out of these 8 rounds or two sweeps, but overall the series nothing beats a series being tied at one knowing you're going to get at least 5 games, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I didn't even expect really a sweep. Looking at these playoff matchups, like it looks like Washington could get swept. It even looks like Dallas could get swept. Like Vegas picks up 2 games on the road. Like that's playoff hockey for you.
Oh, I know. I know. That's my biggest regret, I'd say, in terms of when I made my bracket, I slept on Vegas, but I also don't think that the longevity is there. I don't think that the Vegas Golden Knights are just going to remain hot against those strong West teams. I don't, again, they might be able to make it past Dallas, who it's going to be sad seeing a team like Dallas lose out if they do, but I don't know if they'd be able to get past a team like Edmonton 2 years in a row or something like that. I don't know.
No, for sure. I mean, not that we are counting Dallas out, but the way that it looks right now, like a team like Vegas picking up 2 on the road, heading back home, looking to close the series. At the end of the day, is in a really good spot. I don't want to say that Dallas is out of the playoffs or on their way to being out because I could easily see them turn around and do a reverse sweep 4-2 Dallas Stars. Winning that, I think even that game to close it out would be back in Dallas, I'm pretty sure. It's the beauty of the NHL playoffs. This is something we didn't expect. Even looking at the Vancouver series, like obviously we had a couple of people around us saying that they knew Nashville was going to win, but with Demko going down and the Predators win 4-1 in Vancouver, heading back to Nashville, like that series might take a turn really quick.
Yeah, it did scare me to see Demko going down. You never want to see anyone going down. Obviously, we got some buddies who sometimes take things too seriously and want to prey on people's downfall. But at the end of the day, I
Oh,
to see
whoa.
that. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Everyone's got all our viewers probably have those guys who, think that hockey needs the violence aspect where people get hurt or whatever. But that's not how the game should be played, right? So,
No, for real, for real. I feel
but
that.
I guess the way I see things is, yeah, like no team's out of it yet, but for that Vancouver series, like you were saying, I'd still have a belief that Vancouver can win that series. I don't think that Nashville's as strong as people think, at least come playoff time. I think Vancouver just needs to step up here. We saw Pedersen miss a sloppy empty net there. Like that could have changed things, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. And a lot of people are on Pedersen right now, like pretty hard, considering that, he just got paid out. He's not having the best playoff series. And I think you might have called that. Like a player like Pedersen getting all that money that still hasn't performed in the playoffs, and it looks like he's not performing at all.
Yeah, and again, I'm totally not saying that, Vancouver's a great team that it should go the distance, but I'm saying I do see that potential in them, and it's almost like they have expectations to fill, right? Nashville doesn't have that pressure in them to say, okay, we've got to get to X spot, right? But obviously with Vancouver, you got Hughes, who's in his first year being a captain. A lot of things are going on with that team, and I just truly think I've probably said it a million times in the house to you, but this is the best team Vancouver will have. They got crazy depth, and I don't see it being there in the future all the time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And like even like you said, like potential. Potential is the key word that I took from, your take there. And I definitely agree. Like Vancouver has that potential. They're a young team, although, you know, I love the phrase backs against the wall. And I don't think they're backs against the wall because at the end of the day, they weren't even supposed to be in this situation at the start of the season. I don't know if you heard, but there was like a little rumor going around that at the beginning of the season they were selling. So you know how they have to organize obviously the arena dates and what's going to be happening at the arena in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I guess they were selling like concert availability during
Huh.
the playoffs. So obviously they had to change that pretty quickly and to find themselves not only in a playoff spot but at the top of their division and stuck now in the playoffs. I wouldn't say their backs against the wall, but definitely potential for them to blow up just as much as there is potential for them to come back in the series and maybe make a run here in the playoffs when Demko gets healthy.
Yeah, yeah, seriously, I could see see that series going the length. It's been a great playoffs, and I think that kind of leads me in a different team where I we didn't really talk about them yet, but Oilers lose a game in overtime last night where I was expecting to stay up till like 1 a.m. and see maybe a double overtime. I'm not sure why I was feeling that, but I that one ended pretty quick, eh?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, funny enough, we were texting a little bit before I think overtime. You were
Yeah,
headed to bed, and I said something like, "Oh wait, dude, like game's going to OT or something like that, right?"
yeah.
And I was watching the game in my room. I kind of put a half an hour timer on my TV because I was like, "All right, by the time this game's done, turn the TV off. I'll be falling asleep." And I actually fell asleep before even watching overtime. So when I woke up in the morning, I checked my phone and I saw your text and you were like, damn, like what a bummer of overtime or something like that. And I was like, oh shoot, dude, I totally forgot to like watch overtime. So
Oh my.
that kind of sucks for me. Watching the Oilers and Kings, I've mentioned it so many times the past couple of months. Like it's a series that the past couple of years have just been so good. So I'm so disappointed that I missed that. But obviously LA picks up another game just means more hockey for that series, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and I'd love to see maybe our viewers chime into this, but I'll stick by this. I don't know if the term is like die by the sword or whatever, but like LA is such a favorable matchup for the Oilers, and if they can't get past them, then they've got a clear problem there. We know that they don't have all this depth and a superstar team. Clearly, when you have a few superstar players and McDavid and Draisaitl, you've got to get the job done against LA. I truly think that is one of the most favorable matchups they could have, and I don't think LA is a threat. So
Oh,
it's
for sure.
interesting to see that series be tied up because honestly, it was a really weird bounce the way the puck went in, but it just shows you just gotta shoot the puck. It was a nice classic shot, top cheddar by Kopitar, and nice to see the captains get involved. We saw obviously Marchand scored the game winner yesterday. Kopitar did. Shifley's been playing well.
Oh,
Like
Shifley had a nasty goal against
yeah,
Colorado. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but he had like this one-handed goal, crazy celebration. And dude, that arena is buzzing. I think I
yeah.
really need to add that to my bucket list of an arena to go to during the playoffs because, dude, the whiteout in Winnipeg at the what's the Canada Life Center?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, absolutely ridiculous. Like I would totally fly out there just to watch a game.
Yeah, I think I'd love to do that one day. Honestly, that's after a few definitely after TD Garden for me. So I think it's got to wait a little, but you know,
No, for sure, for sure.
but yeah, I think that the next guy I want to transition to since we're on this Oilers topic is Dylan Holloway. I don't know if you saw, but 2 goal game, and it wasn't like he just scored a couple of greasy goals. He had 2 snipes, and I one very positive thing to take away from last night's game is that he's a 2020 14th overall pick, and this is exactly what you need out of a guy like him come playoff time.
Yeah, considering that at the start of the season, I don't know if you remember. I mean, obviously in the off season leading up to the start of this season, looking at his hockey cards, and I know we always don't get into hockey cards, but we are invested in hockey in that way. So I mean, it was a guy for $10. You could pick him up, and he drastically dropped considering his play wasn't really to par of what his prices were. And everyone was kind of on him. You know, he was almost expected to be on McDavid's line. I don't know if you remember the conversations where, that was the
Yeah.
conversation in the offseason. And he didn't really play that well to start off the season. I believe he actually got sent down at
Yeah.
some point. But man, two goals in a playoff game against LA. Obviously, they didn't win, but for him, that's got to be a bright spot for sure.
Yeah, like it's like you said, you were bang on. He did get sent down at some point, and he ended up playing 51 games this year, which is still pretty impressive. But before the season, we were in this exact spot where again we see that investment piece in Holloway where like there's opportunity, right? Whether he's playing with McDavid or he's in the top, even in the top nine, there's a little bit of opportunity. And so we saw that, and I don't know if you remember, his card was his hockey card there, which is called his Young Guns, was about $15, and you could get it for $10, call it. And then yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it dropped in terms of that category where we almost wanted to avoid it, but we wanted to pick it up. And we I think the big question for us heading into this Sport Card Expo is what his price is going to be, because I don't know how many Oilers fans we're going to see there, you know?
Yeah, I know we wanted to get into that conversation too, even to talk about the expo, which I'm super hyped for. I wanted to get that out of the way right off the bat. But like, there's going to be a lot of players that you can pick up. And I was having this conversation with Al's brother, and we were just kind of talking about, dollar bins and how you can catch, dealers maybe not watching the playoffs. And some players are, in the dollar bin and they just scored two goals. Like you said, Dylan Holloway. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Dylan Holloway in a dollar bin, right?
Yeah, I would. That would be pretty awesome. I think we'd be stoked for that, especially, we got to pay our admission tickets for the weekend. So that's another thing we got to do later today. So we got a packed day, and I'm super excited because that starts today. Usually our Thursdays aren't as exciting about as this, eh, Sans?
Oh, dude, for sure. I mean, even though the podcast will be done, and we got about like what 10, 15 minutes here. I think we still got a long phone call after this. And
Yeah,
hey, I'm
totally.
excited for it.
Me too, man. I mean, hey, that leads into a nice coffee later and then nice Sport Card Expo. But yeah, one other guy I have to mention. I should have mentioned this when you brought up the whiteout game, but David Gustafson.
Oh, your boy, you
Honestly,
called it.
it's pretty funny, but a former second round pick in 2017. I for some reason I had my eyes on this guy a little while ago, and I gotta mention the card that he has for his youngins, but he has the pretty cool Winnipeg Jets alternate jersey that received some hate when it came out back in the day. It looked pretty basic and bland, and then it's kind of changed the jersey narrative today, where like having like a cool style jersey is actually considered cool and not like sloppy or like ugly, right?
No, I feel that.
So he ended up getting his first career playoff goal, which was nice. They ended up losing that game, but he did get the first goal. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another guy who I might target slash invest in. So I think he still has a little potential despite being that, 24, 25-year old, you know?
Hey, those dollar bins, man. Keep an eye out for the dollar bins. That's exactly who you'd find. Like even him, I'm a big guy. Like obviously, whenever I do the videos for the pregame, I always look at, you know, I'm always looking for goal reactions and reactions. So that's something for me personally that always catches my eye. I don't even remember his goal. I just remember his reaction.
Yeah.
David Gustafson against Colorado last game, and dude, he was fired up,
Yeah.
absolutely fired up.
You gotta be, yeah. It's like you gotta almost, although the crowd's gonna be into it, you gotta like pretend you're in the crowd and just be super hyped, right?
Actually, funny enough, watching the Oilers game, Kevin Bieksa actually did a little piece at half or intermission, sorry, and he talked about how they showed like I think like seven or eight celebrations. Actually, funny enough, as I'm organizing these cards on my desk, I mentioned I just picked up a David Gustafson Young Gun, so that's kind of jokes.
There you
Put
go.
that to the side for the PC.
Nice.
But no, Bieksa was talking about celebrations, and he showed like seven or eight celebrations. And I mean, I don't know how he did it, how he notices something like this, but these guys are really sharp. And it was pretty much eight celebrations where all teammates kind of let the players do their own celebration. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be easy when a big goal scored for teammates to just rush the player, but he was talking about how, teammates are actually letting, for example, Austin Matthews, you see Bertuzzi kind of back off and let Matthews do that solo man crowd of celebration. So for me, that's what NHL playoffs is all about. And dude, I freaking love that stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And hey, when you can sell it like that, it just adds some more hype for the next goal of that game, right? And like funny enough, we see Connor McDavid with 0 goals so far, but 6 assists. And so I think when he scores his first of the playoffs, they better give him a little space to do a nice little one knee celly there, right?
Oh, it's coming. It's coming for sure. I mean, I thought it was coming last night. I picked him in Tim's picks. Unfortunately, didn't get that. I was on a 5 day streak actually, so I was pretty hyped, but
Ah,
really pained to see that one go.
I know we actually had our little podcast break when you were getting your free coffee. So I mean, hey, it's good to know that me and you did get our at least one this season if we don't get any 7 day streaks in the playoffs, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah,
And
I don't
then
even think I got to talk about that really. I don't think
yeah, I
so.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you did because I don't know if it was like the day after maybe our pod. You were at like the 6th day, and then we did a little podcast up at Brock there, and then yeah, I don't think you got to, but again, I did congratulate you, so I'm happy for you.
Hey, cheers, bud.
Yeah, cheers. Now a little trivia for you, since this will be I kind of gave it away, but there are two players in the NHL with 6 points in the playoffs heading into tonight. Do you know who those two are?
6 points in the playoffs so far.
Yep, heading into this evening.
So who plays tonight? There's two games. It's Carolina and Islanders, and it's don't tell me. Is it Vancouver, Nashville?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, so someone's got to be on Carolina. Is it Jake Gensel?
Well, no, sorry, I'll correct you. Panthers and Lightning, and then Hurricanes and Isles. Both of those teams have only played 2 games in those series.
Okay, so Panthers. I'll say so.
Th-
They're on the Panthers and the
No,
Isles. Sorry.
no, they don't have to be from the teams playing tonight. I'm just saying, like, as we head into tonight's slate,
Oh, okay, okay. I
you
mean,
know,
it's got to be McDavid. I know he had 5 assists the other night. That's one for sure.
you're right.
And the other's got to be Kucher. No, no one on the Leafs. No one on the Bruins. No
Eh,
one on the Bruins.
yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna tell. Yeah, you got to guess who you.
Oh, Marshy. Got to be Marshy. 2 goals
Yes, it
last night.
is.
Probably had a couple apples. Yeah, is it? So Marshy and McDavid.
Yeah, Marshy has 6 in 3 games, and McDavid's got 6 in 2 games. So,
All right. I'm feeling
uh,
sharp. I'm feeling
they
sharp.
lead the way. It's pretty nice to see. And then, I mean, there's only a couple guys with 5 right now, but it's a little weird when you have some guys with 2 games played, some guys with 3. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see a nice leaderboard that's not like stacked up with one guy with like 10 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
So yeah, that's honestly pretty good to look at the point leaders. I think we overall these playoffs have been predictable, but then we've seen some instances where you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think seeing Vegas up 2-0 on the road is one of those surprises for me. I don't know. Do you have like one playoff surprise that you could not have predicted, or?
I mean, one playoff surprise, and I know you added at the end. I couldn't predict. I mean, we mentioned it already, but Dallas, Vegas, watching Vegas pick up 2 games on the road in Dallas. Dallas, one of the best teams in the NHL. We talked about that. And in game one, Mark Stone gets that first goal. It's kind of like the icing on the cake. It was so predictable that we didn't even think about it. You know what I mean? So I'd say that's kind of what surprised me the most in the playoffs. But dude, I've had a great time watching the playoffs. I'm even more hyped to watch tonight's slate.
Yeah, I think I'm excited. I hope that we can watch a little. I think we're gonna hit up maybe Jack Astor's after our expo there, do something like that. So we're excited. We're definitely invested this weekend, looking to work hard, grind it out, and really show our hockey knowledge off. So if anyone's gonna be at the card expo, hopefully we'll see you there or something.
Yeah, so we only got like 4 minutes left. We can kind of wrap up with a quick chat about the expo.
Yeah, so I think the most exciting thing we can say is that we're going to be at all 4 days of the Toronto Card Expo this weekend, which is going to be our first time being at all four of them, right, Sans?
Oh, for sure.
What are you kind of what's your kind of target there? Do you have any players in mind that you're going to be eyeing this weekend?
I mean, I want to look at Dallas players. It's a little bit risky right now. Obviously, if they were up 2-0, it could be a little bit better. 2-0 in the series, sorry. But I mean, to talk about cards, I mean, there's so many players like Jason Robertson, Ottinger. I just think they're so underrated. Like their prices are just ridiculously underrated. So those are a bunch of players I'll be looking for. And then I mean, just the usual, the McDavid Young Guns, obviously got to be looking for those. Probably stay away from Matthews Young Guns. I mean, I'll look at some Edmonton players. I'll look at some Florida players. Like I wouldn't mind picking up some Matthew Tkachuk stuff, but I mean, just pretty much sticking to anyone that's in the playoffs right now. And unless the price is really good, I won't be buying anyone that isn't in the playoffs. That's
Yeah,
kind of my that's kind of my thought process right now. I haven't thought about it too much, but for what I
yeah.
have done, that's been it.
I mean, yeah, you're pretty bang on to kind of what how I'm feeling too. Now the only issue that we run into is we're big into some of those Sens investments for down the road, and that it really sucks to be able to say, okay, buying some Ottawa Senators pieces aren't really going to help us in a few months, so we might as well wait those off season months, right?
No, I definitely agree. Like, I know I'm big on Stutzel. I've been buying his young guns, but like, there's no reason for him to go. I mean, unless he gets traded, which will not happen. I mean, anything's possible, but I don't think he's getting traded at any point in the next couple of years. But yeah, like you said, there's almost no reason to buy them just because the prices are going to be, available in a couple months, even in a couple weeks, and are going to start dropping soon.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm excited. I think, yeah, if I have a number one guy to go after, it probably would be a Bruin for me, like a Brad Marchand who has dropped drastically, or even a Pasternak. Obviously, those guys you're not going to be buying in bulk or in multiples, but I do think that this series is going to be favorable. I think they're gonna end off with a spark there. I think they're going to show that they want it most, you know?
Oh, for sure. Dude, definitely hyped for it. Definitely hyped for the playoffs, hyped for the Expo, and hyped for a really good weekend.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. Thanks for making the time for today. And we'll definitely have our podcast, our post expo podcast and kind of recap round one once that's almost finished.
Yeah, cheers everyone for joining. Obviously, playoffs are in full form. Hopefully, everyone enjoys that. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. We will be back at some point next week, planning that out. I'm actually headed on vacation, so we'll see what that looks like when we cross that path. But yeah, no, Eric, thanks for having me today. Thanks for joining. And I mean, I'll talk to you in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Yeah, stay invested and see you guys soon.